What's up, y'all? Welcome back to Make the Way. This is the culture vlog where we unpack the new culture through the ways that millennials and Gen Z are reshaping culture. I am your host, your cultural guide and guard, Mike, and I'm excited to tap in with you for episode 3. And also just want to thank everyone who's continued to just connect with Make the Way, really joining me in the journey of dissecting culture, learning together, getting smarter and more empathetic together about culture, about humans, and about how we move through the world. So that's the purpose of Make the Way. And I'm excited to check in with you for another week and let's unpack culture together. So this week, comes as no surprise. We are coming off of one of the biggest cultural moments yesterday with Super Bowl 60. It is definitively one of the single most viewed moments of the year in culture, probably the most actually. And it is one of these long standing, continued shared rituals in culture. And it is one of the ways that we still experience the same thing at the same time as a global culture. And so it is an important spectacle and moment in popular culture. But I think there's a lot that's happening with the big game at this stage. And so it's deeper than the surface level of what ads were funny. What did you think of the halftime performance? I think Super Bowl actually gives us a lens into some of the issues that culture is wrestling with. It gives us a chance to reflect on our opinions as it relates to said issues or tension points. And it also serves as a huge moment of cultural commentary, with the halftime show becoming this new landscape for ideology, for imagery, and for storytelling in a way that is really powerful. So let's dive in. I think this is going to be a little bit different than some of the other videos that you would see on YouTube or Instagram, namely for someone like myself who is a brand and cultural strategist. The typical format for these videos is to critique the ads and what did they miss and what did they do wrong and how did they hit the mark or miss the mark. There are a million of those videos, and I encourage you to tap in with those and enjoy those for what they are. That's not this. My focus is more about where can we glean meaning from some of the themes of the night. And so rather than critiquing actual ads or even critiquing the halftime performance from Bad Bunny, I want to go a little bit deeper and actually unpack what was meaningful, what was insightful, what can we learn from, where can we push, for understanding from some of the key topics and themes and trends of the night. And so I hope that gives us nice grounding for the conversation we're going to have today. So let's start with Bad Bunny. I don't even want to talk about the ads or brands or anything until we really center on what I deem as like one of the most rich and profound, nuanced cultural storytelling moments that we've seen actually since last year with Kendrick Lamar. I think there are a ton of parallels between Bad Bunny and Kendrick's approach to the Super Bowl halftime platform, their ability to elevate their culture, to have coded and embedded messages throughout, but I think it goes without saying, Bad Bunny really put what I refer to as a MillZ or Millennial and Gen Z mindset front and center. His whole performance was anchored in an exploration of values, a deep connection to identity and culture, and putting those things front and center on the big stage. And so I really feel like Bad Bunny not only put on for Puerto Rico and for his distinct culture, but I think he really was waving a flag for MillZ culture by using this moment as an opportunity to wave the flag for key values. One of which, probably the most central theme throughout his performance, was this idea of togetherness. I think a lot of the commentary around Bad Bunny serving as the halftime performer really led to this divisive us versus them kind of conversation and culture. And I think he did an excellent job of not leaning into that, not being caught up in the culture wars of it all. And actually, all of the messaging, all of the thematics pointed to togetherness and his celebration of connecting around diversity, connecting around distinct identities. And from the dancers to the imagery, I think he was pushing for us to see we're better when we celebrate each other. We're better when we collaborate with each other. One of the central messages within the performance was the only thing that's stronger than hate is love. And I felt what a powerful way for him to respond to the drama that had been surrounding his performance by making it really clear that this isn't about hate. This is about love. This is about celebration of all. Which leads me to my next big takeaway from his performance. And this is something that I've been harping on in my own career, delivering brand strategy for Fortune 500 world class brands. And it is this reality that when we tell a culturally specific story, it will resonate with all because it's real. People are looking for real stories. People want to engage in the details of someone's life. As much as we've been taught that it's about, referencing or relating to all, or we've been taught that there is this monolithic perspective that should be elevated in culture, that is not true. People actually connect with specific stories that feel real, and it doesn't have to mirror their exact life. And so I feel like Bad Bunny's specific references about Puerto Rican culture, whether that was highlighting some of the businesses or even like the aesthetic, the sugarcane fields, which would there was a lot of embedded messaging in that visual as well, which I won't go fully in on that. But I think referencing the specific elements of culture, the specific elements of Puerto Rico's history and story, I feel it was a resounding love letter to the power of a culturally rich, specific story and it tapping into the humanity of all of us. And so I love that aspect of the halftime performance. I also think there was a huge message in his choice around the talent that he brought in from the party scene with the likes of Jessica Alba and Cardi B partying, outside of the home setup that they had, and really speaking to like nuances of culture, but also really elevating a wide cast of diverse Latino and Latina celebrities or stars, but also his special guests in the performance. I thought it was incredibly powerful seeing him share the stage with Ricky Martin and paying homage to him paving the way or walking so Bad Bunny could run. I also thought the inclusion aspect of sharing the stage with Lady Gaga was another nod to this is about collaboration. This is about celebrating different cultures. I think it was really smart and very powerful for him to share his stage with a couple other dynamic artists for those very reasons. I think there was something so powerful about him reminding us this isn't about the browning of America. America is brown. It being a completely or a majority Spanish language performance, that is a global language. And so I think there is something important about the Super Bowl not making a mandate on the halftime performance being English based. And I think it spoke volumes that Bad Bunny held true to his style and to the energy and not switching it up, knowing that we don't have to switch up our offering for it to be widely received. And I think there's something super powerful in that. So kudos to Bad Bunny. I think you did an amazing job. I think Kendrick's a hard act to follow, and I think you did that Super Bowl stage justice. And you've offered a lot for people to continue to unpack and sit with in the days to come. So props to Bad Bunny. So let's switch over to the ads. I want to talk about some of the themes that were front and center last night and what it means as we start to look at trends for 2026, themes for exploration as we look to reach dynamic consumers, but also what this means for millennials and Gen Z as they interact with brands and what brands mean. One of the key themes in the night, from my perspective, was that community matters. I think there were so many spots throughout the Super Bowl that touched on the deep need that we have for community, the deep need that we have to know and understand our neighbors and show up for each other. And I felt like this was hyper relevant for the moment that we're in right now in American culture, where we're seeing so much divisiveness, a lack of empathy, the tension of distinct ideologies playing out in culture in the wake of what we're seeing with ICE brutality, with lack of empathy around immigrants in this country and a culture war that's happening in real time. I loved seeing the spots that were highlighting empathy, connection, service, community building. And I think that's a theme that we're going to see more this year. How do we start to reestablish what it truly means to be American, what it truly means to be a neighbor, what it truly means to be a man for others or a woman for others or a person for others? And I loved that really being elevated across key spots. Some of the other things that I thought were really interesting last night was I think there was a tension that we were seeing with tech. I feel like a lot of the spots were kind of wrestling with the broader culture narrative around AI and technology and what our boundaries should be. And I think the big takeaway was tech is this tool that is now absolutely embedded in our lives. AI is here and it's been here actually. We've been in the metaverse. We've been, I think, this broader perspective around how we talk about AI as a tool versus fearing I think will be a big theme in branding and messaging in the year ahead. The last key theme that I saw was really around this space of nostalgia versus nostalgia. And I think the easy play of just throwing nostalgia on the spot, I think those days are coming to a close. I think if we're not using nostalgia to communicate a really clear point of view, if it isn't a device that's leveraged to tell a rich story and honestly usher people into a remix of sorts or a new expression, it's not worth it. It's not working, guys. I think this idea of nostalgia, this kind of interplay of nostalgia, remixing old equities, bringing them to life in dynamic ways, that feels really interesting. And I love seeing several brands play with whether it was equities from television or, iconic movies, but bringing new elements in and making it feel like this is being reformatted and reimagined in real time. And I love that as a theme. And I definitely think nostalgia is here. Nostalgia without purpose, it's out. So we know on Make the Way, this is all about us unpacking culture together. What are we learning about millennials and Gen Z and how they're shaping the new codes of culture? There are some key themes to walk away with that really point to the values of MillZ. And I think the first being togetherness still matters. These cultural moments, these shared rituals, these opportunities for us to connect around key themes of humanity and honestly just share experiences together in real time, they still matter and they are worth us prioritizing in culture. The other piece is that tech is this embedded equity in how we move through our lives. And instead of it having this fear based narrative, I think there's a shift into looking at tech in the ways that it can serve humanity, how it enables us in a really dynamic way. And I think we're shifting away from this fear of AI or fear of technology narrative to one that's decidedly more how do I leverage technology as a tool and a resource in my life and not have any fear around that? I also feel a huge takeaway was this idea of specific and culturally nuanced storytelling being relevant for all. With Bad Bunny's halftime show, that was the largest takeaway that you can tell something that is identity driven, you can share something that is culturally rich and specific and it will resonate with all based on it being heartfelt, based on it being honest, based on it being just dynamic, you know? And so I think that was a huge takeaway from the presentation from Bad Bunny. And then I think this idea of nostalgia beating or edging out just straightforward nostalgia is a significant takeaway. I think when we leverage historical, rich equities, shared memories, and bring novelty to them and allow people to remix them and play with the equities and imagine something new, there's something really profound there. And so I love this as one of the key highlights of the night. Super Bowl 60 really reminds us that culture is looking for moments to gather, that we are still driven by rich storytelling, and when it's culturally specific and nuanced, it hits home. I love to hear from you in the comments. What were your favorite moments from the Super Bowl this year? What really stood out to you? What moved you? Um, would love to hear from you in the comments. And I appreciate you tapping in with Make the Way this week. I encourage you to share this with your friends, share this with your colleagues, share this with people that are examining culture, who are looking to understand Millennial and Gen Z, and people who are looking to understand culture at a deeper level. Like, comment, share, subscribe, and I will be back with you next week. Make the Way. Peace, y'all.